Colors tend to be easily forgotten when we consume a work, whether it's a movie, a game, a TV show, or anything like that. I mean, manga for example are generally black and white and few seem to care. Yet, they are definitely one of the main key elements of art. But why is that? Why are colors so important, and how are they in fact deeply tied to our emotions and how we perceive a work of art? Well, I can't say much about the scientific side of this, but what I can say is that colors cast a specific feeling for us when we see them, for many factors, like association for example. With that in mind, artists use this as one of their main tools to build their work. And in this video, I will show you how colors can be applied in distinct situations to make a scene really affect us. I think we can all agree that an anime with a distinct style always catches the eye. Great Pretender for example is one that made me enjoy its amazing colors all the way through. But, despite it being amazing, that's not the anime I wanted to talk about today. JoJo Bizarre Adventure, a shonen and seinen manga/anime about a family fated to live through various bizarre adventures. Also, a great example of how colors can make a scene feel completely different, with a very peculiar characteristic. And those are the scenes where the color palettes completely change, making most of the viewers very confused. But what is the real purpose of these scenes? Well, JoJo is a very eccentric anime, and I bet you already knew that by the famous poses, but the poses aren't the only thing making this show uncommon. It also has various fashion references for example, and of course, in a work like this, the colors couldn't be left out. The thing is, the original manga doesn't have official colors. There is actually a colored version of the manga, but it's produced by a separate team. So there aren't much artwork by Araki, the author, with colors, with the exception of some special arts or manga covers. And that's where it starts making sense. Cause Araki doesn't really paint things faithfully to the ordinary or to reality. Instead, he usually uses the colors to depict other elements, like the mood of the scene. So it's very common to see the same characters being painted with completely different colors by him. After all, he isn't painting the characters, he's painting the scene. And that ends up leading into the anime. Yet, where did this painting habit come from? Araki himself said that, since he was a child, he admired the colors that one specific post-impressionist artist used. This artist being Paul Gauguin, an artist that had a different approach to his works. For example, he often ignored realistic colors, using instead colors that he thought looked good together. He aimed to fuse both the appearance of the objects and the emotion they evoke, with of course a few touches to enhance the aesthetic. Inspired by that, Araki also said he does this because he wants to give to the scene specific emotions, and to give certain impressions to the readers. And a perfect example of that is the city of Morio, where the fourth part takes place. There, the sky is painted yellow, the mountains are purple and the trees are blue, which gives this uncanny feeling that the town is wrong. Well, all that I can say is that the town is definitely bizarre. And just a little fun fact about the anime is that another reason to keep the colors changes comes to make long-time fans have the chance to see the characters in the colors they imagined. After all, they only saw them in black and white for a long while, so yeah, that's kinda cute. Another way of using colors to evoke certain feelings is through character design, for example their outfits, which La La Land masters. In this musical, one of the protagonists, Sebastian, is often associated with the color brown, for example it being the color of his costume at his first appearance. A color that is often associated with stability and safety, mainly because it's so common in nature. But some scenes forward, he's using a very saturated red jacket, while playing popular and cliché songs in a band at a party, which gives us an impression that contradicts the more sober and serious about music set that we have been seeing till now, and not much later we see that he really didn't belong in this band. But another thing that draws attention at this party is the contrast of another character's clothes compared to Sebastian. The character in question is Mia, the movie's co-protagonist and Seb's romantic partner for most of the story. The first scene me and Sebastian truly met, they were wearing the same color, blue, but it was a very unpleasant meeting, I should say.
I just heard you play, and I wanted to...
And now, in the party, Mi is wearing yellow, a color completely distinct from the red hue Sebastian is using, showing us how different they are from each other and even reinforcing how they would never be a pair. But this eventually falls apart as they get closer and closer, to the point of Mia fleeing from a dinner to see Seb. And when this happens, she's using another important color for the show, green, which here often represents the protagonists together, as a couple, like in the duet of City of Stars. Talking about City of Stars, and not so much about the outfits, this song has another version of itself a little bit earlier in the movie with a cool thing to think about. And that is the background colors, that starts being predominantly blue, but after some seconds a yellow sunset at the border of a purple ocean appears. Now, what these two colors have in common, you might ask me? Well, that's exactly it, nothing. They are completely opposite colors, which could mean Sebastian has conflicting ideas and paths, which he definitely has, making this song a moment of reflection. And rewinding a bit, we already saw these two colors together, in the scene of the song A Lovely Night, representing the clash between me and Sebastian's personalities. Yep, it all ties together. I could spend hours talking about the color palette in this movie, but for the sake of time, let's jump straight to the ending, where after all that happened, Sebastian is again wearing the sober brown that he usually wore, while Mia is using a black outfit. And my conclusion about it is that both got what they wanted, but Sebastian remained more unchanged, back to his origins, while Mia's clothes are giving a feeling of end of cycle, and that she really changed from the beginning. Which makes sense, since Mia almost gave up on her dream if it wasn't for Sebastian. And all of this ending scene is shaded with blue, the color they were wearing the first time they met. All of this gives a sense of closure, even if it's a sad one. Another field colors can really change the mood is in background art. And one of the games that perfectly shows this is The Wolf Among Us, a game where you play as a big bad wolf, but as a detective of a town full of fables. Yeah, I know it sounds a little weird, but trust me, it's peak. The Wolf Among Us actually surprised me a lot, cause despite being from 2013, more than a decade ago, the art is still amazing. They are even making a remaster, which I don't think would be necessary, but I won't complain. The game is made by Telltale, which is the same developer as the 2012 Game of the Year, The Walking Dead, so I was already with high expectations for it. But when I saw the intro of the game for the first time, I was surprised by how beautiful it looked. They definitely knew what they were doing, the colors, the composition, it all felt amazing. And then, I played the game and fortunately I wasn't disappointed. The game really was charming as it looked at first glance, but after looking back I didn't understand why I got this feeling that it was a very colorful game. That was until I took a closer look. At first glance the colors in this game really don't look anything special, yet they still cast their feelings during my playthrough. And that was because they were not a focus point, but they were still thought out. We can see this not far from the beginning of the gameplay, when we are at Bigby's apartment. There is nothing like a filter on the scene, but most of it is painted with dark and low saturation colors, like the walls and the floor. And with some other factors, it gives a feeling of emptiness and even a melancholic vibe, which is broken when we leave this place and come upon the corridors with a yellow, brown and golden hue everywhere, bringing warmth and comfort. That is, until we go outside to the direction of one of the main game turning points, and are embraced with a very dark and saturated blue of the night, setting the perfect tone for what comes next. Now just imagine how boring it all could be if they made everything with the safest and most realistic choices. It wouldn't evoke all of this, it's like not using one of your senses. I searched on the internet and found the concept art for all these places, and it supports what we have seen. The places are all colorful in its own way, making sense without being boring and even bringing emotions to the viewer. This is what a true good use of colors is. It is when they tell the story without you needing much more additional context. It is when the art speaks for itself. It seems it's being more and more forgotten nowadays by popular media. And it's really sad, because when this happens, it looks like the artist is doing the same only thing artists a long time ago were pushed to do, just portray reality without personality. And just trying to look more expensive and work for all audiences isn't really what art's about.